Intel 8th Gen Core i7 Review: What happens when thin laptops get quad-core speed? Intel's 8th generation Core CPUs solve the problem for the superlight, sub-3 pound laptops that are becoming increasingly popular. Up to now, these laptops could handle only dual-core CPUs because quad-core CPUs created more heat than their slimmer profiles could manage. That's all changing with Intel's groundbreaking 8th gen mobile CPU. Quad cores, once confined only to much larger and heavier laptops, can now be stuffed into a tiny laptop, or so the company claims. But can the 8th gen CPUs actually give you the performance you expect and you're paying for? Or is this just a cynical attempt to sell you on some quasi quad core for your next laptop? To find out, read on. Intel's 8th gen Core i7 promises to bring quad-core performance to ultra-portable laptops. Unlike desktop CPUs, laptop CPU performance has always been a tricky task, as isolating the CPU is nigh impossible. Different laptop manufacturers will set the CPU to run at different speeds based on how much cooling they stuff into it, or how loud they want the fans to run at. Basically, trying to compare an 8th gen Dell XPS 13 to a 7th gen Acer or HP introduces so many variables out of your control that it can be difficult to render a final decision. There is one way to get you closer, though: compare the same laptop models made by the same manufacturer. That's exactly what we did this time, using Dell's newest XPS 13 with a Core i7 to 8550U inside. To this, we compared a Dell XPS 13 with a 7th gen Core i7 to 7500U. For context, we also lumped in the original Broadwell-based XPS 13 from 2015. Although outfitted with only a Core i5, we included it because it was also the model that first ushered in the zero-bezel infinity bezel design. The laptops we're comparing feature these CPUs in them. And because we all want to know how the 8th gen hangs with real quad-core CPUs, we also include two Dell XPS 15 models with much more powerful quad-core CPUs and GPUs inside. That's right, we're pitting smaller, lighter laptops with lower power 15-watt TDP CPUs against large laptops with 45-watt TDP CPUs, but they're all quad-core. Let's see what happens. One last important point we'll make: all of the laptops here were updated with the latest version of Windows 10 available to them, as well the latest drivers and BIOS. This is actually a very critical step for trying to dive into direct CPU comparisons, because drivers and BIOS versions can have huge impacts on performance. A laptop can launch, and 6 months later, the OEM could decide to increase or decrease the performance based on customer complaints about temperature, fan noise, or performance. With that said, only the XPS 13 laptops had Windows 10 Fall Creators Update installed. Microsoft, it appears, did not deem the XPS 15s worthy. Our first test is Cinebench 15. It's a popular test built by Maxon and is based on the engine that runs its professional CINEMA 4D 3D rendering engine. The test concentrates on the CPU and is heavily multi-threaded. The results speak for themselves. Anyone who thought Intel couldn't pull off a quad-core in a 2.5-pound laptop has to eat their words, as the Core i7 to 8550U simply destroys the 7th gen Core i7 dual-core CPU, and for the most part hangs surprisingly well with the much hotter 45-watt quad-core chips in the two XPS 15 laptops. What does this mean? It simply means, damn, Intel's new 8th gen is fast. Damn, look at that 8th gen quad-core CPU hanging so close to its beefier 7th gen predecessor. Cinebench 15 also allows us to test performance of the application in single-threaded tasks, so we threw the switch and ran all 5 laptops through the same task. The real surprise is the winner. You'd think it would be the Core i7 to 7700HQ in the newest XPS 15, but no. It's the new Core i7 to 8550U in the XPS 13. Okay, what's really going on here? Well, if you look at the detailed specs in the Intel Arc chart, or click this to see them, you can see that the new Core i7 to 8550U has a higher turbo boost speed of 4 GHz compared to the 3.8 GHz boost speed of the Core i7 to 7700HQ. Cinebench R15 clearly shows that boost speed can pay off. Given that the vast majority of applications people use rely far more on single-threaded performance than multi-threaded performance, this result is more important than it might seem. The higher 4 GHz boost clock of the new 8th Gen Core i7 gives it a leg up over the 7th Gen CPUs. Next we ran Pod Ray, a ray tracing application that literally dates back to the days of the Commodore Amiga. It's been updated and moved to x86, of course, and it's still a valid performance benchmark. Like Cinebench, it focuses on the CPU. We again see the 8th Gen quad-core Core i7 to 8550U easily blowing away the older 7th Gen dual-core and hanging with the much hotter 45-watt quad-cores. The 8th Gen quad-core Core CPU sticks close to 7th Gen quad-cores in Pod Ray multi-threaded tests.